already that many have sent in their own kind of memorabilia just to remember what happened there on the 3rd of June last year. We've brought you a number of reports this week on the various strands, the promises that were made for the drains that will be expanded to those who survived and the compensation they were promised as part of what had happened last year. We'll look at that a bit more in focus. But a lecturer at the University of Ghana's Plant Environment and Biological Department, Dr. Vincent von Vojogbe, believes that the lack of funding is the biggest problem here.
I want to believe that these are institutional matters. You certainly would agree with me that the NATMO is a relief unit, and they have a certain mandate to address issues on disaster when they do occur. And then you have the other unit also responsible for ensuring what needs to be done so that we do not face these challenges. But you're talking about disasters, and some of these are natural occurrences. And so, yes, there could be attempts at trying to do what you call preparedness towards that. But in the event there is excesses, then one has to look at whether there is availability of resources to be able to address them. So, one bigger umbrella, of course, has to give the necessary assurance, and the other also is thinking about the availability of resources and what it takes to be able to do what they have to do in times of disasters.
Now, Mr. Vojogbe, I know you have done some research into this kind of issue. What did you find in your research?
Well, as an environmental person, I think that there have been many occurrences in terms of various natural disasters, from flooding to fires and what have you. I think that we are actually looking at what happened last year around this time when we had serious floods. And so, yes, we are facing situations of climate change, and climate change is creating excess floods in certain areas and droughty conditions in other areas. And so, yes, these are bound to happen, but the frequency with which they are happening needs to be looked at, and we need to have change in attitude towards addressing some of these problems. You will notice that each time this happens, our major challenge as a country is whether we have our institutions are at work, and whether we have the money to be able to address them and address them rapidly as we face them. In last year's particular case, you would agree that there were also artisanal issues that were involved, people building in waterways that need to have been addressed. The institutions that matter looked on unconcerned at the time. So when the issues of heavy rainfall and heavy downpour occurred, we began suffering some of these outcomes. And so until our institutions are up to the task, and we do not use the laissez-faire approach, I believe that we'll be able to address some of these problems, because we are, per our region, we are not noted to have major events of disasters. It's just that, the phenomenon of climate change is creating some of these conditions for which I believe we should be able to address them. If you compare this to what happens in the Asian countries, North American countries, where some areas are clearly disaster-prone areas.
Go ahead, Doc.
Okay, so for me, that is the issue. But one major concern is that...
Right then, and there's more to do with the flood and fire disaster to bring you here on the show. The president of the Ghana chapter of the international charity Caritas, Most Reverend Gabriel Akwesi-Abebio Mante, is raising concerns about the refusal of Ghanaians to change their attitudes in spite of the devastation experienced last year.
Begin by saying, in fact, that event was an indictment on the whole nation, individuals and as a group. Was it necessary how could we make or create a situation which brought about that double disaster? By our carelessness. I mean, just imagine adults maybe drinking water and just putting the rubber anywhere else. Recently, just about a week ago, what I saw going on television, I said, will Ghanaians not learn? So as a matter of fact, personally, I say, I feel very, very, very sad and also ashamed about what happened on that day. We ask, how are we taking care of ourselves? How are we protecting ourselves? Are we our neighbors' keepers? You see, so I personally don't feel happy about it, and I pray that it should never happen again. So far, I must say, we haven't put in any clearly structured plan to help. But with especially this putting Caritas in a public domain as something which already existed and has always existed, but now it has taken on a new character and a new dimension. I believe that my department in particular, especially the socio-economic socio-economic department, will take note of what is happening. We have been had a particular case, not that we have not been approached. Nobody needs to approach us for us to go and offer our this, but having seen what is happening, we look around and see where we can get some assistance and then go in there. Yes.
So clearly, we have a lot of challenges, and the clergy have had cause to worry about our own personal attitudes in all of this. We may be pointing our fingers at government and the Accra Metropolitan Assembly, the waste management companies, but what about us as well? Who puts the filth in the gutters in the first place to have them choked? Well, apart from the lives and property lost on June 3 last year, education was somewhat also affected, as some school kids had to go through major difficulty in ensuring they keep up with their studies ahead of the BECE. Ifo Evans-Chen revisited one of the worst hit areas, Nima, where the Youngsters Basic School is located.
Years far in flood disaster broke many hearts. Nima is one of the most impoverished communities in Accra, Ghana, lacking basic amenities including adequate housing, water and drainage systems. But the community continues to grow. The slum was one of the worst hit in last year's June 3 floods. Several lives were lost and property destroyed. Here are the Youngsters Basic School at Nima. The floods disrupted academic activities for close to a week. I'm here at the Youngsters School at Nima, which was not spared the wrath of last year's flooding. Students had to live with family members and friends from adjoining communities. Headmasters of the school, Glenfield Felix Tay and Macaulay Muslim, said the school is still counting its losses a year after the floods.
There's a big gutter behind the school, so the gutter became flooded and then spilled over onto the compound. We had then wooden fence. It broke the wooden fence and then entered the classrooms. Those classrooms here broke into the classroom, removed all the chairs and the desks, and then went on through this way, and then went through with all the chairs and tables out of the compound.
It was that serious. The wall behind this building all went down. I was on the compound then. By the time I came out of my office, the water was up to my waist level. They were here studying. They would have stayed probably up to 8 p.m. In fact, that was the more reason why I also stayed behind and I got caught up in the flood. I ensured that they all left here because when I saw the situation, I quickly dispatched all of them, and so actually they didn't witness any of the distractions that we saw that night. A week after that incident, everything got back to normal here because we had a lot of support from our sister compounds. One of our biggest compounds are the Adenta compound, so they brought us the furnitures from there, and within a week we were able to fix everything, and everything went back to normal, except for the textbooks. They got damaged, they got wet, we couldn't use them. The few that we retrieved, we tried to dry them, but it was no use. It's been a year now. Anytime it starts raining, we look around, we climb the wall to see what is happening in the gutter. We try to read the situation so that if there's anything we have to do immediately to get the students away from here, we do that.
Final year students of the school are expressing mixed feelings about their final examinations this year as June 3 approaches.
Last year when it happened, a lot of our seniors were really having difficulties. Anytime a teacher comes to the class and asks like inspection of notebooks, and then the excuses, my books were washed away, and sometimes the students they don't learn. So it hasn't been really good.
But you'll be able to get all the textbooks back now?
Yes, we have. We've got our textbooks.
You've got your textbook back. Okay, so why does it scare you?
Because last year was really bad. It was really, really bad, you know. Last year some candidates lost their parents, and this year, actually I'm hoping it will be okay this year, because last year was really scary.
I'm not scared because it's just something that we are supposed to forget and move on in life.
June 3rd is going to repeat itself again. Since it actually happened in Circle. Circle was the main place in which many people died and the rest. When it happened, it destroyed many lives and we were supposed to clear the gutters, but it didn't happen. So I think this year, June 3rd will repeat itself.
I'm still here at Nima, close to the gutter that overflowed onto both sides of the road last year, June 3. It came all the way here, broke the walls. So this is actually a new wall you're seeing over there built by the school. What measures are we putting in place to ensure this does not occur again? Reporting from Nima, Ifwa Evans Chinri for Joy News.